that makes you revise the judgment you first made. So I honestly don't think it's possible to tell yet. But what I do know is that this is very much a progressive country. This is not a country with a Conservative majority, and I think that that's good news for Britain. I think it shows the extent to which Britain has changed. And also, as Alan Johnson was just saying there, it would, I mean, assuming that David Cameron did, let's say, get a majority, it would be a small one, and that would probably curb some of the excesses of his party. But I actually think the mood here is very much that we're in hung parliament territory, and I think given that only two parties have ever won 4 elections in a row in the last 2 centuries, it's a pretty remarkable achievement for the Labour Party to be where we are.
The truth is, though, that it looks like Labour are making losses tonight, the Conservatives are making gains, and we are in the system we're in, and in that system it's a first past the post system. Another Conservative gain there, City of Chester just going up. That, you know, the expectation would be that the party with the most votes and the most seats would form the government, surely.
Well, look, the system we have, if David Cameron's party can get an overall majority, then I think everybody accepts that that he becomes the Prime Minister. But as I've just listened to Ed Miliband on a different programme, explaining that constitutionally,
I did it on this programme as well, I assure you.
Okay, good for Ed. I'm glad that he's out and about. But the point is that constitutionally, Gordon Brown would be perfectly within his rights. And I think it would be good for all the party leaders just to kind of, you know, take a deep breath, sit down, try to work out the best way forward. But, you know, let's see, for all the speculation that's going to go on, let's just see whether, it won't be that long to find out whether or not David Cameron does indeed get an overall majority. My instinct at the moment tells me that he won't.
Just on the point you made about the media just then, I didn't hear you complaining very loud in those long periods when the Sun supported Labour and Tony Blair. So isn't whinging about it now a bit much?
I'm not whinging about it, I'm making an observation. I don't think any leader, any opposition leader in British electoral history has ever had such an easy ride from the media as David Cameron has had. And even when the Labour Party under Tony Blair was supported by newspapers like The Sun, it was always very much from a right-wing perspective, and it was not the kind of coverage and the battering that Gordon has had to take from large sections of the media, including, I have to say, large sections of the broadcast media. So I'm not whinging or whining about it at all. I'm just making an observation.
What do you mean battering from large sections of broadcast media? What's that allegation?
I think that the tone of the broadcast coverage throughout this campaign has been very much through the prism of Cameron is kind of man of the moment and Gordon's kind of on his way out. That's been the tone of a lot of the coverage that I've seen. And if you're asking whether I would put Sky into that, yes, I would.
Why? Well, I'll produce your evidence.
Well, look, Adam, I watch it and I can make my own judgment as to what I see.
Well, no,
as the tone of
but
coverage.
This is actually quite serious because you're making, as you know, you're basically accusing Sky or any other broadcaster that you include in this group of somehow violating the rules under which we operate in this country.
I'm not accusing you of violating the rules.
I think that's a serious allegation, and I think if you're going to make it,
Adam,
you should substantiate it.
I know, Adam, I know you take yourself terribly seriously, but let me just give you one example. The day before the election, a Labour candidate in a totally unwinnable seat says something about Gordon Brown, which frankly became the dominant story of the day. Now, it wasn't. For the public out there who are making up their minds about the election, it wasn't that big a deal.
First of all, it is actually a seat which you held 2 elections ago. So
yeah, well, I can tell you we're not going to hold it this time.
Secondly, you as a journalist should know that when a Labour candidate says the Labour Prime Minister is the worst Prime Minister...
I'm not saying it's not a story.
It's a story. Of course it's a story.
Of course it's a story. The question then is whether you cover it to the exclusion of virtually everything else.
You were saying that covering that story, which was a lead for about 3 or 4 hours...
You asked me for examples.
3 or 4 hours.
Adam, get off your high horse for 2 seconds. Get off your high horse for 2 seconds.
You started this. You're the one of accusing the television media of being biased against you.
Adam, you're great at giving it. You can't take it. Now just calm down and listen to what I'm saying.
I'm just saying.
David Cameron.
I'm saying to you, substantiate your charge.
I'm telling you that, in my opinion, having followed many elections through the years, that the media in this campaign has been very, very biased against Gordon Brown. David Cameron has had an easy ride. I mean, you know, I'll give you another little example.
That's different, actually, from what you were saying a moment ago, which was you were saying that the media were consistently biased, but let's settle for that.
I think large parts of the media have been consistently biased.
I just happen to have Kelvin Mackenzie here as well.
Yeah, I think Alastair must have been on the I think you must have been on those funny cigarettes again, Alastair. You clearly
No, I've never taken those, Kelvin.
You've clearly gone mad, my son. The reality is that the Sun was slavish to your former Prime Minister. Absolutely slavish.
What, Trevor
And
Kavanagh?
actually, the truth about the matter is the Sun, when it gets behind something, anything, politics, or exposing some double glazing salesman, goes for it 101%. You have nothing.
Yeah, fair enough.
You
Fair
ought to actually send a rather large cheque to Rupert Murdoch and thank him for all that he has done for the Labour Party rather than criticising him.
I'm just telling you, I also, well, go on.
No, it's all right. I've finished.
Oh, sorry, I thought that was the echo. I've also got to say, Kelvin, that their front page today was not quite in your league. It has to be said. I think when you start comparing David Cameron to Barack Obama, it's you lot that's lost it, not me.
Okay.
Anyway, Adam, you calm down. Enjoy the evening.
I'm perfectly calm. I just think if you make charges, you should be able to substantiate them.
Yeah, well, maybe we could have a more sustained dialogue about it, Adam, in the future. But when I tell you, I think the media in this campaign has been very, very biased against Labour, and there's been a pretty sustained character assassination of Gordon Brown, and he stood up to it pretty well, which is why he's still standing, and it's the Tories who are going around with pretty long faces tonight.
Okay, thank you very much, Alastair Campbell, joining us from Labour HQ, predicting a hung Parliament there. Also seeing the SNP hold Perth and Perthshire. Let's go to Cardiff now and Chris Roberts and get a view from Wales. Chris.
Hi there, Adam. It's getting rather feisty there, isn't it? As you're well aware, historically, Wales has not been a particularly happy hunting ground for the Conservatives. Back in '97, they were wiped out. There wasn't a single Tory Welsh MP returned. Same story in 2001. Got a bit better in 2005.